Hi everyone, I'm Mike Walsh, the new lead singer and frontman for Lipstick.
And I'm Steve. I'm the bassist.
And Steve is my new best friend.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What is this bullshit?
Wait, who are you and what are you doing in my house?
Excuse me. I'm Greg Troyan. I'm the lead singer for Lipstick. What you think you guys, just because you get along and like the same songs on crazy nights, all of a sudden you're best friends? You can kick me out of the band? No, none of this.
Yes?
None of this bullshit. All right. Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer for Lipstick. This is my band. I'm the Paul Stanley of this band. You're the Gene Simmons, Steve.
Oh.
But hey, this is considered the return of the Demon, Gene's big comeback album. We're talking about the Kiss album Revenge today on the Lipstick panel. We are joined by not the lead singer of Lipstick, Mike Walsh. Welcome back to the show.
I'm disputing that, but hello.
It's like Dave Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar just doing a podcast together.
I mean, I would listen to that, actually. That sounds pretty great.
That'd be pretty tremendous. That sounds way better than our show. Mitch LaFon, get on that. Make that happen. Just like schedule interviews for both and then just duck out of the Skype call.
Oh no, you two have to talk to each other. Sorry.
But yeah, we're talking about the Kiss album Revenge, considered by many Kiss fans to be one of their best albums, a triumph, considered to be by many the best non-makeup album. And I think half of it is filler and kind of meh. So typically with our episodes, we go around the panel, talk about our histories with the band and the album. And since I already spoiled a little bit of my opinion, I'll go first. Big Kiss fan, first saw them in concert 2004 at the Time and Eric lineup, and then went back and rediscovered the catalog and got really into the DVD of Extreme Close-Up and Confidential, which were clips from Alive 3 and a bunch of interviews from the Revenge era and music videos and stuff. And so I really gravitated towards the Revenge lineup, and I liked the music videos and the singles that they had on the compilation. And then I got the album, and I'm like, oh, the stuff that I saw on Extreme Close-Up was really awesome, and there's a reason I didn't hear the rest of the stuff. I think this is definitely the most overrated album in the catalog. I think it's still good. I don't think there's necessarily a bad song on here, but I think there are a couple remarkably mediocre filler songs, and that this is nowhere near deserving of the praise that it gets. The high highs, absolutely, those are great. Those are some of the best things Kiss has ever done. But man, the filler, like, I'm gonna, hot take Troyan, the filler on Hot in the Shade, better than the filler on Revenge. And yeah, Mike Walsh, what's your history with this album?
Yeah, you've said a lot of things that I kind of wanted to bring up in one way or another, so I'm glad for that. You mentioned a little bit ago that a lot of times this is kind of considered the return of the Demon, and I will have some things to say about that during this podcast, and it's actually a fairly new realization for me because of this podcast, even though I've known this album for 20-something years and been a Kiss fan for many years. I don't remember exactly when I got Revenge. It was not one of my first few Kiss albums. Again, while thinking of this podcast, I was trying to think of my earliest memory, and I think it was when my cousin and I were at a CD store. And again, I've mentioned this a few podcasts ago. This was pre-internet, well, pre-downloading on the internet, but you could still go to the CD store and like bring the CD up to a counter, and they would let you listen to it. And he and I were listening to albums. I don't remember for sure which one I was listening to, but he was listening to Revenge. And he just kept saying things like, yeah, this is so evil and like wicked, and oh man, yeah, this is wow, this is great. And the things he kept saying about it, I was like, I guess that's cool. And I was just like, yeah, I never really like got off on Kiss for being evil, so I don't know. Like, okay. Again, more on that later, but yeah, kind of like some things you just said just now. It's a very heralded album among Kiss fans. I like it. I enjoy a lot of it quite a bit. It's in my bottom third of Kiss albums, maybe. Yeah, I do not regard it as highly as most Kiss fans. I've kind of struggled with that because I want to be that guy who like enjoys it as much as my fellow fans seem to do. And again, thanks to this podcast, I have some fresh insights on why my opinion might be that way.
Yep, so don't worry, Mike. You and I are going to piss off all the Kiss fans. But Steve, how do you feel about this album? What's your history with Kiss and this album?
So, I feel weird that you guys are both talking about how you don't really care for this album. I kind of like some aspects of this a lot better than earlier albums. This is an album that I listened to 1.5 times because it was raining all week. It's flooding in Tennessee right now. So I had to drive to work because I can't bike in floods. And I begrudgingly took out the Horse the Band CD I had in and listened to the first half of this album one of the times while I was on my way to work. And then I listened to it again at work to, actually do the ranking. Yeah, I mean, it covers a lot of the same area that they have historically, but I think Gene, as a songwriter, really stepped up his game on this album and added a lot more depth and a lot more value to what he was doing before.
So would you say this is one of the better Kiss albums that you've heard?
Overall, it's probably one of the more consistently solid ones. I feel like it doesn't have as high of highs as some of them. Again, I've listened to the song Crazy, Crazy, Crazy Nights, however many crazies there are, exactly one time. And it's still kind of in my head 3 weeks later.
Yeah, well, that's because it's one of Kiss's best songs, period.
It's a good song.
So
it's no Crazy, Crazy Nights or Black Diamond, but it's a fairly solid album, I think, overall.
I feel like, Mike, you have to be beaming on the other side of the Skype call. It's yes, you're right. It is no Crazy, Crazy Nights.
Yeah, well, first of all, that's awesome. And again, that's why Steve is my new best friend. He and I don't always see eye to eye, but we really do, and it really matters.
It really matters.
When it matters. When it comes to Crazy, Crazy Nights and Jesus, you guys are yes, fist bump. But yeah, so this will be kind of interesting because this won't be the usual podcast about Revenge where everyone blows it and oh, this is amazing, this is the best they've ever done, it's so good, oh, the guitars are heavier so it's better. I think 90% of the praise of this album is the production, the fact that the guitars are heavier, the fact that, Gene is giving better vocal performances. But I think and also the fact that the songs have more parts to them, so it's not just verse, chorus. It's hey, here's a bridge. The problem is I don't think that necessarily all the bridges and things, the little interludes are necessarily that interesting. But I think just the fact that they are there is why Kiss fans regard this as a masterpiece, in my personal opinion.
I think there's a lot of validity to that. You did mention the production, and I do want to give the production a lot of credit. I feel like objectively, maybe not even as a Kiss fan, but if you just want to talk about music in general, or at least rock music in general, and
talking about rock and roll,
and just producers in general, and just that overall crux, I feel like objectively, Revenge would rank at or near the top in terms of production. I mean, you think of an album like Hotter Than Hell. It's kind of just objectively not a well-produced album. There's a lot of love for it among Kiss fans, and you can talk about the songs, but strictly speaking, production, if someone were to come to me and say, I'm going to convert every Kiss album into one production, and you just have to live with that. Unmasked, it sounds like Unmasked, and I love that album, and I want it to sound like that album, but I wouldn't want most of Kiss's albums to sound like that. I feel like if I had to pick, most Kiss albums would work pretty well with Revenge production, or at least not be ruined by Revenge production. And if I had to go back and listen to the first album but it sounded like Revenge, it would probably be pretty cool. It wouldn't be how I remember it, but I wouldn't want to change every Kiss album to sound like Hotter Than Hell, for example. So anyway, I'm going on about something kind of weird because no one can come up to you and force the production change of albums that were recorded over 40 years ago. But anyway, Revenge does have good production.
No, I think that's a fair point. I think this is probably the best production Kiss has ever had in terms of just the sonics of the album. The guitar sounding good, the vocals sitting in a good place in the mix, the band just having a full, rich sound. I would probably agree this is the best produced album. And just purely on a sonic level, I think that's a very valid place to, that's a very valid opinion to have.
It's just the songwriting and the graphic design that are wanting.
Well, the band looked cool. The album cover, it's too dark, you can't read it, but the band looked cool, wearing, black and leather, Gene with a goatee. Actually, I think this era of Gene is the coolest looking Gene Simmons. Like, angsty, leather jacket Gene Simmons with the goatee. I think, that's the best look Gene has ever had. So this is peak Gene Simmons in terms of his creative, in terms of like his look, and also I think his creativity in this era was at a high point. As much as I've ragged on Gene in many, many episodes in the past, like I think he was great on Hot in the Shade, but I think the energy and the raw emotion felt on this album is a bit more sincere. And I think that it's the beginning of a very strong era of Gene's songwriting. But hey, you guys ready to just get into this ranking?
Yeah.
Let's get nuts.
Get nuts.
All right, so coming in as the least best song on Revenge, we've got Car Jam 81. All right, so I didn't vote this at the bottom because I like Eric Carr and like you savages. Yeah, so I gave this 6 points out of a possible 12, right in the middle.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, there's a lot of filler on Revenge that I'm not into. There's a lot of skip button tracks on this album. This track, I like a lot for a lot of different reasons. One, they decided not to let Eric Carr's last song with Kiss be fucking Boomerang. They're like, is that really how we want to do, Eric? Is that really how we want to send him out with Boomerang?
That implies he'll be back.
Yeah. Best friend.
No. Because Boomerang was such a fucking dumpster fire, awful song. That's right. The Boomerang rant is back. You thought we were done.
Get another 30 minutes of this in this episode.
But, Bob Ezrin was probably listening to Hot in the Shade. He's like, man, Eric deserves better than this shit. And so he went back and was listening to old demos from The Elder. Because this is actually a cut from The Elder, one of the unreleased tracks from that era. And Bob edited the song in such a way where it showcased the drum solo, cut out most of it to just make it a short, concise track. Because there was not a drum solo on a Kiss album that really showcased Eric Carr's abilities. And I think this is cool. It's kind of the Moby Dick of the Kiss catalog. We're like, hey, here's this cool rock song showcased in our sweet drummer. I like drum solos live. I think they add a great part of the concert experience. If you watched live footage of Eric Carr, this drum solo on the album sounds similar to some drum solos he did live. Obviously, it's a little bit different, but it's capturing his energy. It's capturing his style. It's also fascinating from a production standpoint because this was a song recorded for The Elder, but they mixed in such a way where it fits in really well on Revenge and doesn't sound awkward and out of place. So the mixing and the production really impressed me. I think Bruce's leads were great. And, I know they mainly probably just did that so they didn't have to pay Ace for his leads, and that's why they overdubbed them. But you know what? I think this is a cool way to honor Eric Carr, give him, a more fitting send-off than Boomerang out of every fucking song in the catalog. Like, damn. Like, this is... I think it's a fun instrumental if you're into the overall concert experience of retro rock band, which includes, the indulgent guitar solo, which includes the drum solo, which includes these large instrumental sections that aren't just songs. This track, I think, would do a lot for you. And I think this is a great showcase of Eric's abilities and a great tribute to him. And now I will let the two of you say why you don't like Eric Carr.
Because he's no Neil Peart.
Oh, there we go.
Ouch.
Oh, man.
Just go straight for below the belt.
Yeah.
But look, Eric was a very competent drummer. I think, Steve, overall, you would say the albums he did with Kiss, you would say he did well drumming-wise?
Yeah, generally. I think everything that you said about the value of this particular composition and what it adds to the Kiss catalog and what it adds to this album and what it adds to Eric Carr's legacy and his relationship with, these people that you assume were some of his best friends. That's all true. but it doesn't make for the most interesting listening experience. It's, a drum solo at the end of an album. At best, it's always going to sound just like a little bit tacked on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. That's kind of where I'm coming from too. It's a great tribute. It totally belongs there. I love that they really honored him in that way and did something like that. And yeah, it's totally cool for what it is. Don't get me wrong. But I did rank it at the bottom because, I mean, at the end of the day, there are 11 actual songs on the album. Some I really like, none I actually dislike. Maybe one just kind of is mediocre to me, but it's cool for what it is. Yeah, again, I like the whole drum solo in a concert experience and all that good stuff. I mean, you mentioned that it sounds like it belongs, and I think that's probably largely because Bruce recorded his guitar parts like in that current era. But yeah, it totally works. I'm glad they did that. It was a very kind of like a nice, touching sentiment, but just in terms of how am I going to stack it up against real songs, and that's why it ended up at the bottom for me.
Yeah, I mean. Pardon me. Yeah, I get it. But for me, I sincerely enjoy this track on a musical level more than, about half the album.
You also like the drummers of Kiss a lot more than anybody else in Kiss in general.
I would say...
What's your favorite solo album from 78, Greg?
I mean, it is the Peter Criss 78 solo, but Paul Stanley is my second favorite member of Kiss. So Eric Carr, as much as I love him, he's not my second favorite member of Kiss. Maybe if he, messed around with shotguns more, shot up some Christmas trees, maybe he would rank higher in my personal Kiss rankings. But because he didn't, has to fall to the original Catman.
You heard it here first. If you want to impress Greg, you got to shoot some Christmas trees.
I mean, yeah, it's usually a way to impress me. So any other
Shania Twain song, right?
Right.
I hate that song.
So any other comments on Car Jam 81 before we move on?
The name sounds kind of clever. Like, oh, it's like you're drumming along in your car, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so next up on the list, we have Tough Love. So I ranked this song at the bottom. It is filler.
I ranked this one in the middle. I said it's fine, but it felt a little bit long.
I want to say I ranked this one the lowest out of Paul's songs. I think I had one Gene song below it, and then Car Jam below that. Yeah, I like it. I can understand the filler thing. It's never been like one that really stood out to me. Even when I was listening to it for this podcast, I was like, okay, Tough Love. And I was actually kind of enjoying it more than I had remembered. And an interesting thing that stood out to me is in some ways I kind of see it as a companion song or a revenge version of You Love Me to Hate You. Just kind of like thematically or whatever. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, what can I say? It's not a standout Paul song, even on that album, let alone throughout the entire body of work. Cool for what it is. I enjoy it when I hear it, but it's never been one where I'm like, I'm really craving that song. I'm just going to play that right now. But it's not a skip for me if I'm doing the whole album straight.
I think that's the most resounding meh we as a panel have ever given any song.
Yeah, it's just like this song, it just reeks of just... It's forced. It feels very forced. Like, according to, some things I read about the production of this album, Paul would bring in these really poppy, catchy songs, and then Bob Ezrin would turn them down like, nope, that's not the direction we're heading. You need to be more rockin' and more aggressive. And so I'm almost 100% positive that the songs that were turned down are better than this one. Because poppy Paul Stanley is really great. Because you know what poppy Paul Stanley is? Crazy, Crazy Nights.
Yeah.
And so this song, it's just, yeah, I mean, it rocks. It's a competent rock song, but it's also a kind of boring rock song. Like it's like the instrumentation is kind of interesting to play, but it's not interesting to listen to. It's like, okay, there's some cool syncopation. It does sound, tough and aggressive, But it's like, I don't care. I cannot be bothered to care about this song. You know, because I'm a Kiss fan, I still enjoy it to a degree, but the only time I ever seek out Tough Love is when I'm intentionally forcing myself to listen to this entire album. I'm like, nope, no skips, no skips. If I'm just organically listening to the album, it's like, oh, Tough Love, time to hit the skip button.
Some tough love for tough love, I guess, from all of us.
Yeah.
Rock and roll! The RNG's been really uncooperative today.
So any other comments on Tough Love before we move on?
All right, I'm done talking about this great song.
All right, so next up on the list, a song I voted second from the bottom, we've got Paralyzed.
I agree. Also second from the bottom for me.
So this song starts off with a really cool intro, and for those of us who watched Kiss Confidential all the time, that was basically the intro to that video, so that was kind of cool. And then when I finally heard the song, like, oh sweet, it's the song with the intro from Confidential. And then the rest of it was kind of meh.
Yeah, I mean, meh sums it for me. It's kind of filler for me. In fact, I was thinking about it. I know I kind of joined these podcasts at Asylum, but I was just, in terms of going back every Kiss album, up to this point at Revenge, it's probably in my bottom 5 Kiss songs, up to this point in their career. I have no hatred for it. Like you just straight up hate Boomerang. I don't hate Paralyzed.
Yeah, I don't hate this. I don't even have enough emotion to hate this.
It's like dumpster fire, but it's just, yeah, it would be the most likely to be skipped for me on Revenge. Yeah, just Gene had better songs on that album. He had better songs on Hot in the Shade. He has better songs. I mean, I don't know. It's just there. It sounds cool, yet paradised. I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
I'm impressed with the level of meh from this panel.
I'm glad I finally got around, because I mean, I really kind of gush on the first 3 panels I was on, or the first 3 podcasts I was on, because those are all high ranking albums for me. So I'm glad that if whoever's listening can say like, okay, Mike Walsh doesn't just like cream on everything Kiss does.
Right, but also this is going to make them angry because this is what they want.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
right?
All that tiny.
My favorite album. Oh, they just don't care.
I like, Steve ranked this higher than us.
Yeah, I ranked it right in the middle with It's Fine.
One of the things I read production-wise, that they were originally going to have a rapper in the middle of this song. You know what? That might have made it rank way higher.
That would be interesting, because 1992 rap, that means they're either going with like the sort of old school Sugar Hill Gang or Will Smith kind of like super happy rap, or they're possibly going with like East Coast versus West Coast gangster rap.
And given how aggressive this album is, I'm pretty sure they were going to go for the aggressive gangster rap, which honestly, this would make the song rank way higher. So that instrumental section where it just sounds kind of sparse and there's that rhythm, apparently that's where the rap was going to be.
Man, Paralyzed featuring Puffy Combs. Weird.
Yeah, or even, you know what? There's a rapper in the band, Paul Stanley. Could have had Paul rap during the rap section if they couldn't find a rapper to do it. But yeah, as a finished...
White people weren't good at rapping in 1992.
I mean, white people in general aren't good at rapping. You have Eminem, that's it.
Yeah, and you have the one guy from Run the Jewels.
You know what? I don't know that, but sure, I'll give you that. I'll give you a 2 whole white people can rap.
And if you like Eminem, Machine Gun Kelly's fine.
I get out of here with that bullshit.
Macklemore?
All right, so Tough Love.
Stevie and Niska. Stevie Does Life.
Sure.
We have a rapper in Kiss, Greg. I mean, in Lipstick, Greg.
I like how you and I keep accidentally referring to Lipstick as Kiss because the bands are so similar.
Kiss Stick. Oh, dang it.
As mentioned on the Decibel Geek episode I did recently, we've basically had all the members of Kiss, like their doppelgangers, in Lipstick. The Italian drummer who keeps reminding you he's Italian every fucking minute of the day. We've got
was Peter Criss super into fat chicks?
Well, he was into all kinds of chicks.
Because our Italian drummer was.
Right? No, I need someone with more meat on them. No, Peter Criss, I think he liked all shapes and sizes, but like the guitar player that shreds too much and threatens to sue you over basically any little thing you do, like basically Lipstick is just Kiss on a micro level. Like, what if Kiss was nowhere near as successful but was still just as embarrassing? That's us.
We don't wear quite as much makeup. Hey, speaking of referencing fat chicks as a segue into the next song.
Next up on the list is Spit.
Just say shit, you cowards.
They do say it live.
Oh, okay.
So I think they might have done that for the sake of, not
This is the don't have a parental advisory sticker on the album version.
But also, think about this. Imagine there was a Kiss song called Shit. And people are like, oh yeah, Kiss, at least they're honest about their music now. Think about all the jokes people would make.
That's true. I mean, do you think they can't take it?
Yes.
That's true. They're fragile men.
But I remember having that conversation with one of my good friends when we were getting into Kiss like many years ago. He was like, why is it called Spit? Like, they should just say shit. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want a Kiss song to be titled shit. And it wasn't, you make a good point too, where people would shit on them for saying that they're shit. But I just thought it would be weird to have a song called Shit on an album. Just like, I just picture looking at the back cover and being like, oh man, are they just like singing about a turd? Like what? Like
right,
maybe
this is the
if they wanted to sing it
forever.
as shit, they could have called it like "Don't Mean Shit" or something like that. I could have, but it's just a one-word song title "Shit" does not have immediate appeal to me. So Spit, at least the title-wise, sounded more interesting to me. And then I was like, what's that going to be about? And then when you hear it, you're like, yeah, you could have probably sang it as shit, but Spit doesn't ruin it for me either.
There was I think a Chumbawamba song called Shit.
Well, I mean, it's an accurate description of the band, Steve.
Oh, harsh. Or maybe it was Oi Poyo, or maybe it was one of them covering the other and or both. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's it's a fairly esoteric B-side. I think it's spelled differently too. It's like SHHHHT or something.
So, as it stands, if they had a song called Shit on this album, like think about how classy a lot of Hot in the Shade was overall. Like, so you're following up the album with Forever with a song called Shit. Like, hey, we just co-wrote with Michael Bolton. Here's our song called Shit. I'm glad it's called Spit. For me, I think it's a more interesting song title because it makes you think about, Gene Simmons and the tongue and, saliva. And it makes you think this is going to be a little bit more aggressive because, you're getting through the album. It's like, okay, they're taking a more aggressive tone. A guy who like spits on the corner. So you're sensing a little bit of aggression from it. And this is a song I think it became bigger in my mind than maybe it deserved to be because every Kiss MIDI site for some reason had a MIDI file of Spit.
I miss Kiss MIDIs.
Me too, man. But remember, like, every Kiss MIDI site, they wouldn't have every song from every album, but for some reason they all had Spit. And so when you didn't have Revenge yet, you're like, oh shit, this must be a really important song in their catalog. Everyone's talking about how great Spit is. And then you watch clips from, like, the Kiss conventions in the 90s. They would always play Spit and, sing the word shit, and the crowd would get really into it. So I'm like, oh man, this must be like a super fan favorite from this album, like a really cool deep cut. And I love this song. I ranked it the highest. This is great. Like, the way I was meh about the other songs, I completely dig this one because it is Kiss embracing being goofy. The fact that the Star Spangled Banner is part of the guitar solo, like they knew that this was a ridiculous song. Paul Stanley claimed that he had not seen Spinal Tap before recording the song.
Before the bigger the cushion, the better the pushing lyric.
So that's either one of two things. He's either lying or Kiss is that unintentionally hilarious. Either way, I'm kind of cool with that because it's Paul Stanley being embarrassed about being called out about the Spinal Tap thing, or he just sincerely had the same thought that Spinal Tap was making fun of. Either way, I'm cool with it. But the back and forth vocals are fun. I like the melody. I think the instrumentation is great. Like the band is playing tight. I think it's catchy. Like this is goofy, dumb fun. But guess what? You're listening to Kiss. That's what you're here for. So I dig it. I think this is a great track and one of the standouts from the album.
Yeah, I like a lot of things you had to say about it because I was really feeling that as well in anticipation for this podcast, and just kind of some things I've pretty much always thought about the song. The back and forth vocals. I'm trying to think of the Kiss album. I mean, is this their first time since like that Gene and Paul were both on a song, like other than like backing vocals or something like that? I think it might be. And so it's cool. I mean, they had done that in the early days, with a few songs. And so it's a fun return to that. Yeah, it's a goofy song, and but I feel like it's goofy on a different level because I mean, there's some Kiss songs and ones that we've talked about on these podcasts where it's like Gene lyrics, logs and fireplaces and such, and I think I don't even know if that wasn't necessarily intentionally goofy. It was just kind of very sexual and whatnot. I think Spit, at the time, they knew they were being goofy, and just some dudes in a rock band who had a lot of success, and then it had waned a bit, and they were just like, well, we're just going to keep trying our best, and let's just have fun with this song. And they're kind of singing about being into fat chicks, and I don't know that they are really into fat chicks when you like look at the women they've dated and stuff.
I think Gene is just,
Gene's kind of everything, but
yeah, Gene has low standards.
Yeah, it's not so much like we genuinely believe this, but like, hey, you've heard the saying, like, more meat satisfies or whatever, so like they're just having fun with it. Yeah, I wanted to mention the Star Spangled Banner. That just kind of comes out of another. We're like, hey, what, why not? And there's just kind of like a lot of cool, like tempo changes and just like moving parts, and just it's a lot of fun. I almost ranked it at least a song higher just because of the fun factor. And then I didn't, just because the song I ranked above it. I still like more musically, but again, it almost just got bumped up even higher for me just for the enjoyment of it. I sincerely hear them enjoying themselves, and that makes me happy.
So, Greg, you have this actually in your top 5, right? So that's one of those clearly ironic enjoyment things, huh?
Yeah, but I think the difference is I think Kiss is in on the joke on this song. So,
yes.
Like, it's funny, but on purpose. Where Burn Bitch Burn is funny by accident, I think this was funny on purpose because there's no way, like, the Star Spangled Banner was in there not as a joke. Like that, I think
it's just their favorite Hendrix cover.
No, because I think even in one of the Kiss books, Bruce Kulick was talking about the song was so silly and over the top. He's like, you know what? F it, Star Spangled Banner. So I sincerely love this track. The way I was meh about the other songs, no, this is completely positive. I think it's great. But yeah, any other comments on Spit before we move on?
Rock and roll!
Thanks, Jim Steinman. Next up on the list, we have Thou Shalt Not. So for me, this is right on the edge of being a filler song and a song I really enjoy. And so there are times where I'm just like, musically it's not that great. It's not doing anything super interesting musically, but it has a great vocal from Gene and really, really cool lyrics. Because this is the beginning of Gene is Angry at God era. And you know what? Angry Gene Simmons criticizing religion? I dig it. There are a lot of Kiss fans who say that after Eric Carr died, Gene became a bit more angsty and angry at God and started to, pose more theological questions in his life. And it started to leak out into his songwriting a little bit on Revenge, and then just went, full extreme on the next album.
Nice.
But this is sort of the beginning of that, where this song would fit in well on the next Kiss album. It would probably be the most upbeat, like, fun song on that album. Like this would
That's such a strange perspective.
Right, yes. This would be the catchy pop single. Like, here's the track we can sell to radio because this one isn't as aggressive.
That's wow. I've never thought of it that way, but that's awesome.
But and so in that sense, now that I'm thinking about it as a potential Carnival of Souls track, I'm regretting not ranking it higher. But you know what? Yeah, this is a cool song. It's one that I don't listen to too often, and I think I maybe unfairly lump it in with the filler of this album, and I really shouldn't, because this is a cool tune. I take back my deciding of whether or not it's filler or killer. This is killer. Yeah, I dig it. This is a good song, good hooks, good riffs, great aggressive vocals, well produced. Yeah, what's not to love?
Yeah, I rank this one third. I like Angry Gene. Gene with something meaningful to say is a lot more interesting to me than Gene talking about, like, I'm hanging outside of a teenager's school, ogling them. Yeah, like, but like this whole thing of like, especially knowing that it's in the context of like one of his good friends just died recently. Like, it's much more interesting to listen to.
Yeah, I think the trick with Gene Simmons is that when he doesn't try, it really shows, and you get frustrated with him, and you're just like, oh, Gene Simmons, he's a piece of shit, he sucks. But then when Gene tries, you're like, oh shit, this dude is actually a really, really good musician. He's a really good singer, competent bass player, and a good songwriter. It's just he didn't try for like 10 years straight.
This song has a lot of depth because it turns out that like when he's got complicated personal things that he doesn't know how to work through and is trying to do it in song, he has to work hard to do that. And he writes good lyrics. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I mean, look, praise from Steve on Gene Simmons lyrics. I mean, what has happened to you, Steve?
I mean, what happened to Gene?
It's, very unfortunate that, tragedy sometimes brings out the best in artists. But that is one of the positives of art, is a way of, sorting out your emotions, working with those feelings, and, trying to come to a place of healing. And so I think this was a healthy way for Gene to express, some of the angst he was feeling. Also, it's the 90s, so era of angst.
Right.
But I think it was a healthy way for him to sort of sort out some of those feelings, work with them, and give, great art for the consumer. So I think this is a really great cut and the beginning of a great era of Gene songwriting in a lot of ways.
See, I like it too, but it's almost like in somewhat of a different way than you guys. I can remember many years ago as a kid, I had Revenge on cassette, and I'd be like sitting in my basement doing my homework or whatever, and I'd have side one and I'd have to flip it over. And even though Revenge is not one of my favorite albums, so certain things wouldn't stand out to me as much. Like I can remember listening to Crazy Nights and doing my homework, and it's like every song would shine for me. And Revenge wasn't as much of that for me. But for some reason, Thou Shalt Not was always a song when I'd flip it over, I'd be kind of deep into the album. It's towards the end, and I would always kind of be like, oh yeah, this one. I always kind of forget about it, but I do like it. It's punchy to me. I just like the punchy musicality of it. I like the chorus. It's kind of simple, but I don't know, it's effective for me. For me, you guys are much more into the lyrics than I am. It's not that I hate them. I guess just for me, I'm not as much of a like, yeah, I want to like hear someone angry at religion lyrics kind of guy. And I think I say that from a Christian or from a secular perspective. So it's nothing like faith related where I'm like, oh, this offends me. It's just I don't usually want to hear that in song. I'm much more of a lighthearted topics in my music kind of guy, and serious topics maybe more in movies or literature or something. But that's just me. But yeah, I can at least respect the change of pace. It is nice to have some song variety. And I've just always enjoyed it. Yeah, there's a lot of like Gene attitude on it, a lot of like sneer and whatnot in his vocals. And I think kind of like all those little touches, for me, make it like a really solid album track, or the lead single from Carnival of Souls.
Right. So, I actually want to get Steve to touch on the lyrics a little bit more, because Steve is a very interesting enigma in which he is really into Jesus and also like a pretty hardcore narco punk.
Right.
So, and I think part of Steve's spiritual journey is, challenging and questioning things.
Right.
To, to not to distance yourself from your faith, but rather to enhance it. And so this is a Jewish man given some pretty heavy criticism of Christian, of certain aspects of Christian theology. So, how do you respond to this song? I mean, obviously you thought it was pretty positive, but I just want to get your thoughts from, maybe the Christian perspective.
Okay, so is he addressing specifically Christianity or just Abrahamic religion in general? Because I feel like most of the references he has here, all right, born and raised in the promised land, that's a fairly clever lyric in that
He's originally from Israel.
Originally from Israel, but he's also super capitalist, and so New York City is the promised land. Kissing the ring, that's a fairly Catholic thing. Thou shalt not, that is Old Testament. So I don't know if he's being as specific as, talking about Christianity. I guess Inquisition is, it's fairly Catholic versus Judaism kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's important that you ask hard questions of yourself and of your faith and of your God. And so the fact that he is doing this in the form of song, I think, is inherently a positive exercise in self-examination, whatever conclusions he ends up coming to.
So, yeah, did you think you would be saying, wow, Gene Simmons is doing really good self-examination about religion and song? Did you think that at the start of this podcast?
Right. I was a little confused listening to this song, but like, wait, what part of the body is the Son of God that's going to be touching his dick?
It took me a second. I was like, what? That's not in the song. And I'm like, oh.
All right, kissing the ring, like what kind of ring we talking here?
You know what? Since you are the most Christian person on the panel, I'm just going to give that a pass. On this holy day of Sabbath.
Stanley's dick. Now this girl's going to get some of his dick.
Sure, that's what Thou Shalt Not is about.
Yep.
Gene is really angry at Paul Stanley's dick in this song. All right, so you guys ready to move on?
Sure.
Rock and roll!
Thanks, Jim Steinman. Next up on the list is a song about Gene's dick, Domino. All right, so Steve, I want to get your thoughts on Domino immediately after your praise of Thou Shalt Not.
Right, so this was the lowest ranked one with lyrics on my list. This is one of the ones that I listened to twice, and the first time I listened to it, I thought the exact same thing I thought when I heard Spit, which was, just say damn, you cowards. But then I went back and re-listened to it and discovered that he does sandwich his saying of dang between damn and bitch. So it's not that he's not swearing, I guess, but I did find it really weird that like they were censoring curse words in a song about 30-some-year-old men hitting on teenagers. And it's like, guys, one of these things is way worse than the other, and it's not saying the word damn.
Yeah, and also
Gene
it's
was
very
actually
bluesy.
in his 40s at this point.
Oh, dude, extra great.
So you're saying this bluesy song about creeping on underage girls wasn't your thing?
No, it's not. I mean, the bluesy part I didn't mind too much. Like, blues style, chord structures, and whatnot, I don't mind. It's just the, 12-bar patterns.
So would you say that Kiss, when they incorporate blues, do a pretty good job of keeping it musically interesting?
Right, because it's blues-influenced rock rather than, blues.
Got it. So you like your blues watered down like the way a lot of people like their funk watered down like Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right. I like just every one of those genres much better done by Eric Clapton.
Ouch.
On an acoustic, if at all possible.
Ow. I think I'm actually feeling pain in my groin area from that.
She's all right. Cocaine.
So the first thing I want to talk about before I forget is how hilarious the video for the song is, where it's literally just Gene driving around eating fast food like a fatty.
Is that the one where Paul's playing bass?
Yeah, so like the rest of the band is waiting for Gene to show up to rehearsal. He's just driving around getting fast food like a dick, not showing up on time. And so it's him singing while like eating a burger and a milkshake.
This isn't about a comic book, right? I saw that name. I was like, this is like specifically about a comic book, but I couldn't find any references to that.
Not to my knowledge. Maybe it's about him searching for Domino's pizza and he keeps going to burger places instead.
There's a lot of Kiss themes with pizza. There's much more Kiss pizza songs than I realized before doing these podcasts.
This is the Little Caesar of this album.
But, musically, I think it is... So the thing is, Thou Shalt Not is much better lyrically than this song, but I think this song is better musically than Thou Shalt Not. I think it's catchy. I think it's tight. Great riffs, great vocals. I understand that Kiss is trying to be edgy at this point, and the amount of edgy they're trying to do is a little bit past my comfort zone in the, 40-year-old dudes creeping on underage girls. It's a sticky situation when she ain't old enough to vote. Yeah, it's illegal. So,
Sticky is an understatement.
Yeah, but musically, this is a very good track. It is a highlight of the era. It's a very good song musically, and so, as is often the case with Kiss songs, I give lyrics I don't like a pass if the music is really good. And hey, it's another one of those songs from Kiss.
I don't want to be that guy, but the age of consent in many states is actually lower than the legal voting age. But
and
still,
that's
still creepy.
fine.
But
yeah, and look, man, it's hard for me to judge people in the sense that if the 16-year-old girl wants to be in that relationship and it is legally consensual in that state, I don't want to tell her what she should do with her life. It's not my place. But I think it gets creepier and creepier as Kiss gets older and older. Like if they're on the end of the road tour in their 70s playing Christine 16, it's like, yo, dog,
Christine 60.
Right. That would be great if they said Christine 60 because that would show they have a playful sense of humor. When I saw you coming out of that nursing home that day, I knew I've got to have you. I've got to have you.
Winger was actually doing that 5-ish years ago when they were on tour. They were doing She's Only 17, and then and one of the last times he sings that in the song, he'd be like, she's only 35.
Yeah,
and so that was playful. That's just poking fun at themselves.
I'm actually going to take credit for that. I was at a Winger show, and I was in a Winger video a few years back.
Oh, okay. So you know this way more than I do.
Yeah, and so I was talking with Kip about yo, dude, you should crack a joke about this because that'd be really funny. And then he started doing it. So was it me who gave him that suggestion? No,
I don't know, but I'll take credit.
I'll take credit, but I'm sure a number of people probably gave him that suggestion. So it wasn't just this dude in the top hat that was in my video said I should make jokes about this so I seem less creepy. But you know what? I'm going to take credit for it. Why not? Taking credit for changes to the Winger set. You're welcome. And you thought I didn't have an influence on the rock scene.
Oh, well, while we're talking about creepy and while we're talking about Domino, I will just come forward and admit that I ranked this number 1. And looking at my list, and even after sending it to you, it could have maybe been 2. There's maybe 1 or 2 that maybe could take this one from me, but I just like it. I really like that riff. I like the tempo. I just like Kiss songs that feel like this. I like songs in general that are like this. And it's just such a fascinating thing to think about while we're talking about these and everything. It's like just the similarities and the differences between Steve and I and what we enjoy lyrically or don't enjoy lyrically or musically. And we're both Christians and yet I'm here digging these pervy songs and that's kind of awkward.
Well, look,
digging these songs, questioning religion.
And again, in anticipation for this podcast and thinking about where Kiss had been in their career and in which ways was or wasn't this a stylistic comeback for them. In some ways, and I'm stretching it, but in some ways for me, this is a revamped like 90s Deuce. And Deuce is one of my all-time Kiss favorites. And I mainly say that because of I think they both have awesome riffs. They're both one-word D song titles, and in both cases, it's kind of vague what those are. Like it's not really straight up clear what Deuce is in the song Deuce, and I don't really know what Domino means or is in context of the song Domino, unless
Domino's
it really
name
just
of the
is a
chick.
continuation of
isn't
Little
that her
Caesars.
name or nickname?
That's her name or the name of the pizza place he wants to take her to.
Well, I get that's her name, but like, why is that her name? Like, that's not a name, so I don't. Yeah.
I'm imagining it might be like some kind of like mixed race thing.
Okay.
You know,
I
or
even
just, like, some kind
tried
of
like
stripper
Urban
nickname.
Dictionarying it, and like it wasn't getting any like good results. I was like, is a domino a thing? Like you knock her down? Like what's this domino?
Well, I mean,
don't know.
knock her down. I mean,
Again, it might be a comics reference.
he is a nerd.
He does like comics. I mean, he's
Domino made her first full cover story appearance in X-Force number 8, March 1992. So 2 months before this album came out.
Yeah, so
But she first appeared in New Mutants in February 91. It might be about the comic character, and he just hasn't admitted it.
so like, is this his his fanfic song about him banging one of the X-Men?
Maybe.
If that's the case, I would rank it way higher.
I feel like if the school you're lurking outside of to pick up underage chicks is Xavier's School for Gifted Children, you're gonna die.
But wait, hold on. This is maybe Gene is inserting his version of himself from the Marvel comics into that. So it's Gene Simmons, the demon from the Marvel Kiss comics, lurking outside at Xavier's school wanting to get with Domino. So in that case, he's just writing his own fan fiction with his superpowered self. So is this song canon to the MCU?
Oh man, I knew I was doing these nerdy podcasts, but this just reached a new level. Like I love it.
Do the Kiss comics count as a... I mean, no, because comics aren't generally canon to the MCU.
I would love there to be just Kiss in the MCU because they've been in multiple Marvel comics. Like, look, if they can make Guardians of the fucking Galaxy work, like...
Right?
Because like when I saw they were doing that is a deep cut. I do not think this is going to be commercially successful because it was like the nerdiest fucking comic I could think of, Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I knew about it as like, oh, that's that comic that's too nerdy for even me to read. And then they made it work. So you know what? You can totally make Kiss work in the MCU. License it. Make it happen, boys. So any other comments on Domino before we move on?
I feel bad because I just said I ranked it at number 1, and yet I don't have a lot to contribute. I just really dig the song. I just dig rockin' songs that just kind of are enjoyable, and that makes me sound so pedestrian, but I just love enjoying rock music, and I don't apologize for it.
Apologize for nothing.
Yeah, I kind of was loosely making a hedonism bot reference.
I have a ton of Futurama drops, but they're all randomized now. So.
Oh yeah, you gotta get. I apologize for nothing like on cue because I use that meme all the time.
Man, hedonism bot has a lot of quotes. I should go crib some of them. For now, I just have. Hey, there it was. That's mapped to the same button as Gene Simmons. I mean, not Gene Simmons. Jim Steinman shouting "rock and roll."
Hey, that's
why
awesome.
I've been mashing that one the entire time.
Because you want to torture me with that?
Yes.
You're a damn savage, Steve.
To be fair, it was my new best friend Mike's idea.
Damn it. Did you private message him that like you should have a boomerang drop? I've been bamboozled. Been ganged up on my own show. The coup has started. Alright, so next up on the list, we have a song I ranked third from the bottom, but it ended up in the middle. We've got Heart of Chrome next on the list.
It's better than Heart of Gold.
I disagree. Heart of Gold is is great.
I don't like Neil Young very much, and I realize this makes me a bad Canadian, but that's why I'm trying to become an American.
Yeah, I know. I think Heart of Gold is a fantastic song, and it's basically the same song as Tough Love. Like, musically, they're very similar. They both have the gritty Paul Stanley angst. This is the better version of the two songs, maybe because, Vinnie Vincent co-wrote this one and just the hooks are a little bit better. But it's still just kind of meh. Like, the lyrics are kind of cool. The vocal is good and the riffing is good, but just the song itself, like, it's all these good components that don't add up to something that great. And also, I've got some beef with this song because apparently, at the time of recording this album, Kiss was considering recording a Jim Steinman song called Chrome Heart. I have not heard the demo of this, but apparently Gene and Bruce received a song from Jim Steinman and were working on that for the album. And this song is just meh, but there is a potential Kiss-Jim Steinman collaboration that didn't happen for this meh song. And so, like, this song's, like, it's not bad on its own. But when I know that there was the potential of, like, a Jim Steinman song with Revenge production, this infuriates me. one of the greatest missed opportunities of music. Just awful. Kiss could have done a Jim Steinman song. You guys know how specific that is to my tastes?
That's pretty specific to your tastes.
Like,
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for you right now. Yeah.
What's that Meatloaf song where he refuses to say shit? Maybe that was the Jim Steinman co-write too.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I can hear it in my head, but I can't think.
But yeah, this breaks my heart that there could have been a Jim Steinman song on a Kiss album. We got this instead, which is like, it's fine, I guess. I skip it almost every time I hear it. So that's how highly I think of it, where I don't think it's like Boomerang bad. It's not bad, but it's just so meh.
It's sorry, I know this is off time. Well, you just mentioned Meatloaf. It's It Just Won't Quit.
Ah, yeah. Oh, that's a great tune.
Oh yeah.
Man, Kiss covering It Just Won't Quit, Revenge Era. That'd be great.
Well, I mean, Bad Out of Hell too is kind of pretty much just Revenge Era. Like, what is that?
Yeah,
90,
think about
one. I forget.
any song on Bat 2, I would trade easily. Like, I would get rid of Heart of Chrome and take any track off Bat 2. Even Back into Hell, the instrumental riffing, that'd be cool on this album. But yeah, this song it doesn't do it for me. But you guys ranked it high, so tell me why I'm wrong. Steve, tell me why you like Kiss more than I do.
Where did I rank this one? Sorry, I'm flipping through the song track list on Bad Out of Hell too. Even Objects in the Rearview Mirror as a Kiss song?
I mean, think about Paul Stanley delivering that.
Yeah.
Like, Paul had a good ballad voice at this point.
Yeah, but that song really needs, like, epic Steinman-esque production for it.
I'm thinking like Life is a Lemon and I Want My Money Back.
Right, that sounds like that would fly as a Kiss song.
I think that'd work really well as a Gene song. Like,
that would be a really cool revenge song. I can get on board with that one. Yeah.
And I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. I don't think Kiss could improve on that.
No, here's what I'm saying. I don't think that Kiss could improve on those songs, but I'm saying any one of them Kiss doing would be better than Heart of Chrome. Like, I'm not saying they would do it better than Meatloaf, but I'm saying I prefer any of those songs to Heart of Chrome done by Kiss. That was my argument.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's probably fair. I mean, yeah, Heart of Chrome, I ranked it in the upper mids. It didn't really stick out to me. It was fine. It was the last of them that, like, didn't really have anything stick out. So sort of a resounding meh from me.
Yeah, I guess I like this one the most out of the group. Not
You
an
ranked it
all-time
one whole
Kiss.
point higher than Steve.
Okay, yeah. Not an all-time Kiss favorite for me, but again, I had mentioned like my younger cassette days, really digging like when Thou Shalt Not would come on, like, oh yeah, and Heart of Chrome was another one that would come on, but yeah, I really dig this. I think it is, I would probably say, and it's hard to say exactly without knowing specifically who contributed what to each song, but in my opinion, I'm going to say I think it's probably my favorite result of them bringing Vinnie Vincent back and having him co-write 3 songs. And I know that sounds weird because I ranked one of those songs higher than this one, but I feel like I'm getting Vinny's contributions to Heart of Chrome more. Like I feel like I just still would have liked the other song one way or the other. Yeah, I don't know. Heart of Chrome is unique. It just stands out to me without being an all-time favorite, but it's solidly enjoyable. The lyrics are a little bit different to me. I don't know. I guess just Paul referencing the BBC is like, oh, that's not a lot of Kiss lyrics reference the BBC. That's just
I'm pretty
interesting.
sure that's the
Okay.
only Kiss lyric that references the BBC.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just cool. Yeah, like you said. Well, you kind of said it's got a lot of cool parts, cool lyrics, like a cool riff and stuff, and so for me, my enjoyment level of all of that is just a really enjoyable album track, whereas for you, it kind of was just a meh. But I'm solidly behind it.
You got to wonder, like, how many newspapers or news outlets did she shop those recordings to before she had settled for the BBC? Like, it doesn't seem like the sort of thing the BBC would be much interested in when, like, you know, Weekly World News or the Daily Mail or somebody would be happy to pick up, you know, celebrity sex tape scandal. But the BBC?
I think Paul might be thinking a little too highly of himself, thinking he's that important.
I'm in
It
the
might
front
almost
page of the
just
New
be
York
that,
Times, but with leaked sexy conversations.
Yeah, it's
Could
like
just be that BBC rhymes there and Daily Mail would not have rhymed.
Yeah.
That's what I guess.
it's more than likely that. But I mean, like I don't know how that's news. Like breaking news: Paul Stanley has sexy conversations with attractive women. Who'd have thunk?
Is this the same one who was stalking him earlier?
If this is a sequel to Let's Put the X in Sex, this is a much better song. In which case, I regret ranking it low, and I need to make my Kiss rock opera about Let's Put the X in Sex and the saga of that story. Maybe it ends tumultuously. Maybe Nowhere to Run is like the conclusion of that story. You know, who knows? Maybe it's just all interweaving in and out of time.
The Kiss expanded universe.
Yeah, the Kiss EU.
European Union?
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, any other comments on Heart of Chrome before we move on?
One really quick one. I just think it sounds cool. Like Heart of Stone is kind of a cliche or just a kind of not just a commonly used term. So like when I was, saw Heart of Chrome as a kid, I was like, ooh, cool, a little different, a little twist on an old classic.
A little more sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yep, Paul Stanley said that he heard the Jim Steinman title Chrome Heart and he thought, ooh, I should rework that into something different so I can take credit for it.
Which comic book character is that one based on then?
I don't know, Jim's not as much of a comic book guy. He's more of just a weird dude.
No, but I'm thinking like, where's Paul's version? Which character is that based on?
Man, I don't know. Probably like some shitty, edgy 90s comic book character with like lots of muscles, 2 guns, an eye patch.
Ooh, did
a cigar.
Robo Superman exist yet?
I don't know. Man, the 90s comics were so fucking embarrassing.
I don't know. Death of Superman was 1993, and I think after that was when Robo Superman came out. So,
all right, so I'm done talking about that nerdy shit. Let's talk about strippers. Next up on the list, Take It Off.
This song sounded super weird. And I think just the processing on it caused me to rank it lower than I normally would have. So this is the one that like they did something super weird with the de-esser, and whatever it did, it like cut out so much of the EQ on Paul's voice that he started to sound like he was a pinched off 11-year-old. So just like 11-year-old Paul Stanley singing about strippers.
So I'm going to give you 2 things. One, I don't hear Paul Stanley as 11 in this song. I hear him sound as a masculine, burly man.
Burly man.
But also 2, I can totally see 11-year-old Paul Stanley hooking up with a stripper. So I buy either scenario you want to set up there, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, let me review these lyrics because I kind of got. I feel like I might have gotten an insert tab A into slot B vibe from the lyrics anyway, which just really fits in with the 11-year-old concept.
Yeah, so a couple quick things about this song. The fact that they use the line "titty bar" in the song, like, oh, all right, you just no subtlety there. But this song, I think, should have been one of the singles off Revenge. I think them choosing "I Just Wanna" as a single was a mistake because no one on radio is going to play that because everyone's going to think you're singing about, you're saying the F-bomb on the radio, and everyone's going to be pissy about it. But you do a music video with, hot chicks on poles, like, this would have helped sell the album because all the horny teenagers would have requested the video for Take It Off and like, oh shit, strippers. Girls, Girls, Girls was a hit for Motley Crue. Hot chicks in videos is a formula that's been proven to work time and time again. And so Kiss not choosing the song as a single was a mistake because it's very catchy, played it live on the tour, and as the Pot of Thunder guys so astutely pointed out on their show, this song perfectly captures the psyche of a man in a strip club who thinks the stripper is actually into him. Like, I think Nick Jones famously said, like, oh, here's the part where he's circling the block. So the little bridge section, which is, very Bob Ezrin-esque, where it sounds, beautiful, rich, and full. That's the dude circling the block, thinking that, he can actually get with this stripper chick. And so the fact that it is an ode to strippers, which is, something that, Kiss, was wanting to achieve, being the edgy, dirty rock band they were trying to be at the time, but also capturing the psyche of those guys. So, like, there's like a layer, there's a biting layer to it that you might miss upon the first listen or upon the first read through, but it's actually very clever. So it works on both the surface level of like, yeah, hot chicks, but also that other layer of like, yeah, this guy's probably a douchebag. And it's the fact that they're able to pull that off in a really catchy, competent song that seems like the appropriate length for radio, it seems mind-boggling that this didn't have a video and wasn't one of the singles. I get that I Just Want one of the catchier songs in the album. We'll get to that later. But I think this was a big mistake, not being a single for the album, because I think this could have pushed the album to platinum status.
Maybe the idea is a straight-ahead music video where it's the song just playing for strippers in a song that might be a mockery of the mindset of the sort of guys who listen to Kiss and go to strip clubs. It might have been just too many layers of irony. Like, they thought about it and they were like, I don't even know how to parse what we'd be doing here. Are we making fun of us or not?
This is one where I was listening to it, thinking ahead for this podcast a couple days ago or whatever, and I was driving around and have it playing, and I ranked it pretty dang high, and it was one of those where I'm like, oh man, like it's another one of those like sleazy sex songs that I love, and like Steve is gonna wonder what the heck is wrong with me, and like why am I so shallow, and it is what it is, but at the same time, like my defense for that is, we can talk about, like we already addressed, we already did Thou Shalt Not on this album, and we were talking about how in the 90s we started getting like Evil Gene or the Mad at Religion Gene or just kind of more controversial edgy Gene. And I just personally don't relate to those as much. For better or worse, like I can relate to Take It Off. Like I know the feeling of like going out with your guy friends and you're gonna hit a titty bar, and just that the anticipation of that, and it's just at least like a feeling I can relate to. It's a story, not a story, but what I mean. It's a concept that I can relate to. And I guess I just tend to connect with music like that more, even though I recognize the shallow, sleazy factor of it. But and even just musically, again, I like more up-tempo songs, and just it's got a good energy. And Greg, I think you made a lot of really good points about its single potential and why it may have been a better choice than I Just Wanna.
So I just love how much you value your friendship with Steve at this point. Like, oh no, what's Steve going to think of me for like?
I don't mean, yeah, Steve. I don't mean this against you, but it's kind of that. But it's not so much like I'm worried about Steve judging me. It's more just like Steve has like cast a light on my like sleazy, sinful ways, and like I'm just like, why do I just always go for the Kiss sex songs? Those are always my favorite, and he's always just like valuing these like deeper like ideas that they have, and like, yet we're both Christians. Like, what's wrong with me? And like, I don't know. It's food for thought, and
to be fair, if you go to like 10 men and ask them, hey, which is more fun, strippers or like really thinking about the nature of God and your place in the universe? 9 of them are probably going to say, well, the strippers though. Yeah, that's more fun. If I want to have a good Saturday night out, it's with, attractive women and alcohol, not philosophy.
If I want to have a good Saturday night out, I go over to Steve's and we read the Bible together.
Bible study, woo!
Well, yeah, like that's my point. I'm part of a weekly Bible study. Like, what is wrong with me? And to be fair, a lot of this is a lot of my love of music and entertainment in general is stuff carried over from my childhood, my horny teenage 13-year-old mindset or whatever, and even as you get older and your values and your interests expand or change or whatnot, like you still have, at least I still do have that. That soft spot for like awkward, horny, music-loving 13-year-old Mike.
So in my church this morning, they were talking about like how Christians tend to be a little bit insular and we need to get out there and meet people who aren't necessarily part of the church. How many of you guys don't know any non-Christians? And I was like, I'm literally going to a bar tonight, like to hang out in a bar all night and play music for weird shoegaze and death thrash people. There's gonna be like no Christians there. You should all come out to that.
No, just to clarify, you said shoegaze. You mean people gazing at their shoes, right?
I wasn't sure how to describe the lineup because all 4 bands are different. One band is shoegaze. One band is like angry, doomy punk.
Yeah, shoegaze is actually a genre of music.
Okay, see, at first I thought you were talking about like gay people who are obsessed with shoes, like those shoegaze, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. I'm like, I don't think that's what he's talking about.
No, sorry, it's that like really wall of texture genre where the reason it's called shoegaze is because everybody has 15 pedals and they're staring at their feet the entire time.
Okay, see, I was thinking of shoegaze like just those frontmen without charisma who just like stare down at their feet the whole time.
Well, no, that is
what they're doing.
That is also
okay, that's also what it is. Okay.
I remember the first shoegaze concert I went to, and I didn't know what I was getting into. I was infuriated. Like, I was just so angry. I'm like, no, like, seriously, the entire show? They're going to at least say something to the audience at some point, right? No, all 4 bands the entire time just looking at their shoes. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? What happened to stage presence? What happened to just anything? Acknowledgement that I'm here and paid money to see you. What the... So my first shoegaze experience was very similar to my first time hearing Boomerang and first time listening to Gish. Just rage. So much rage.
Anyone got a chair? I'm gonna chuck it at the chicken chaser.
I mean, look, I can remember the visceral, angry response to my first time experience in all 3 of those things. Just the rage that awoke in my soul. I'm like, how dare you call yourself a musician when this is what you do? Damn you!
I love seeing local bands that don't do any banter at all and be like, hey, I came here to see the band that's after you guys. I don't even know who you are, but if I did enjoy your set, shame that I don't know who you are and will never look you up again.
Right? So yeah, enough about shoegaze. Let's get back to Take It Off, a song which actually has some charisma, balls, and swagger. Like, I think this is it's a great tune. I dig it a lot. At first, I wasn't super into the lyrics because I liked a little bit more depth to my lyrics. I didn't like the surface level, it's just them singing about strippers. But, as I'm embracing my cock rock roots, there's people who like this kind of music. There's people who relate to it. I think that it is better for someone to go to a, strip club and explore their sexuality in a healthy way when they're single than to I don't know, get frustrated and cheat on their wife when they're married because they have repressed sexual thoughts. So, it's all about different things that work for different people. And so if this is what works for a single guy, and this is something that is healthy for him, and, we have friends that are strippers, and, if they enjoy their line of work, I'm not going to judge. It might not be the kind of lifestyle that I would want to leave, but I'm not going to judge someone else for it. So I think it is a fine tune, and if you're into that kind of thing, here you go. Here's an anthem for you.
I feel like there's several anthems available.
Right, but here's another one.
Here's another anthem for you, just in case you feel that, your preferences weren't well represented in music.
Yeah, any other comments on Take It Off before we move on?
I'll make a Kiss nerd comment, especially since we're pissing off Greg, you and I are pissing off so many of the Revenge lovers. I think it is too bad that it was not included on the U.S. version of Alive 3. It was a version. It was on the Japanese version, but I think it would have made a great inclusion on all versions and all copies of Alive 3.
Yep, I agree. I think it's one of the best songs from that entire album.
Was the band located out of New York at this time still, or were they like in L.A.?
They were L.A.
Okay. What time do strip clubs close in L.A.?
I don't know.
As he's saying he's like 11:30 is when he's thinking of starting to head out. And I don't know. In Tennessee, all bars close at 3. I don't know when strip clubs close because they can't sell alcohol.
I don't know L.A., but there's like some here in Illinois that close at like 5, 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's reasonable. And also, imagining it's probably one of the ones that's closer to him, so maybe it takes him 15 minutes to get there. Still gives him, like, if it closes at 2, that's still, like, 2 hours.
I guess.
Yeah, Steve, for the guy who doesn't like the sex songs as much, like, how much titty bar time do you need?
I don't know. I haven't been to one. How long does one spend in them? 2 hours, is that right?
So that seems reasonable.
So I'm used to, like, you go to live music, and that's like 4 hours. I assume you don't have 30-minute breaks between every dancer, though.
No, you don't.
Just coil your cables and get off the stage, ma'am.
Oh, my goodness. That would be like a funny, like, little YouTube short, like, if strip clubs, like, ran like local concerts or something.
Oh, that'd be painful. All right, so next up on the list, after this song about debauchery and strippers, we have a heartfelt ballad, Every Time I Look at You. So I've noticed there is a large section of the Revenge fan base who doesn't like this song. And to that I say, fuck you, this is one of the best songs on the album. So all you nerds who are like, oh, Revenge is great and everything's awesome, but I don't like this ballad. No, this is one of the highlights of the album. This is one of the best Kiss ballads. This is, a phenomenal guitar hook. Very simple, but, very memorable. You hear it and it sounds classic. We've got a great Paul Stanley melody. He is nailing it on the vocals. I enjoy how it gets country during the guitar solo for a little bit. I thought that was like a fun little change of pace. But there's emotion and power from the track. Lyrically, it's interesting because it seems to be the song of a guy who, had some sort of fight with his significant other, perhaps cheated on her. I've heard that as one of the interpretations, and then is trying to rekindle that relationship. If it's about a guy cheating on a girl, this is maybe a little bit of a douchey way to try to make up with the girl, this song. I'll be completely honest, but the musicality of it is so strong that I can't help but adore this piece. And, Paul Stanley has said that he thought this song should have been as big as Forever. And I agree. I think it has that same level of quality and deserved to be an all-time classic, deserved to be a huge hit. But I think Kiss chose the wrong order of singles on the album. They first did a Gene song, but then Paul's ego was hurt. Like, no, we have to do one of my songs next. And they picked the wrong Paul song to start with. And then they did another Gene song, but the momentum wasn't there. And then this became the fourth single, and by the time this came out, the record company just didn't care, didn't bother pushing it.
Peaked at 31 on the Swedish charts. And that's it.
Did it really?
Yeah.
That's so random.
Yeah, so I think the fact that it was the wrong order of singles is I think what hurt the song, because I think the song definitely had huge hit potential. It was just, what they should have done is do 2 Gene songs in a row to really sell the populace that Gene is back, then bring in Take It Off so that, the horn dog rock fans are going to want to watch the video with all the tits, and then you follow it up with the ballad and have that be the hit. I think this big missed opportunity.
I do agree with the single opportunity of it, the hit opportunity of it. I'm just thinking of like what was popular in music around that era, and I think it could definitely fit in as a hit popular song around that time. It's classy enough where, like Domino, even though I gave a lot of love to Domino, I could see people, in 1992 being like, "Oh, that old rock band Kiss, that's sleazy, like whatever." Like, singing about young chicks. But there's something a little more classic and classy about Every Time I Look at You that I definitely don't think there would have been like any barriers to that being a hit, other than just the fact that it wasn't, I guess.
And once again, Steve, Kiss burying the deep cut late in the album, so they're sequencing it the way you want it to.
It's true. They finally figured out how to sequence correctly.
It might not be that they figured out how to sequence correctly, and more just you're used to the trends of '90s CDs sequencing the ballad late in the album. And hey, look, they're in the '90s and they're doing that thing that you're familiar with.
Honestly, there are technical reasons for why ballads tend to be later in albums too, from the record era, which was that you wanted the last song on any side of the album to have less bass or less volume in the bass, and a few other technical things that ballads lent themselves to keep it from skipping. Just the way the grooves work as you get closer to the center of the album, you don't have as much flexibility.
See, that's super cool to find out.
Right? But yeah, I'll rank this one in the middle. It kind of reminded me of that Hootie and the Blowfish song with the ba 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 chord progression.
Which one came out first?
I think this one did.
All right, so there you go. Another band ripping off Kiss. So next time someone's like, I'm a big Hootie and the Blowfish fan, like, don't you mean you're a huge Kiss fan?
I love it.
Yeah, 94.
Yeah, all right, so there you go. Kiss did it first. But yeah, you're not a big ballad guy.
Hootie did it more successfully, though.
Right. Well, better order of singles. I mean, the first single off that album, they were all at a strip club. No, I'm kidding. I'm making that up.
I was like, what is going on here?
How many singles did they have on the first album? It looks like 5. Whoa.
But yeah, so Steve, you're not a big ballad guy, so you weren't super into it.
Not generally. It was fine for what it was, but yeah.
This one or Forever?
I feel like Forever was a little more memorable.
I mean, I like Forever better too, but just curious to get your take.
I lean towards Forever also. I think this is better produced than Forever, but I think the combo of I think it being a better written song and that beautiful Bruce Kulick guitar solo makes me lean towards Forever, even though I think Paul's vocal is probably better on this song. But yeah, I think
he's really good on both. Yeah, I don't have quite. I can't really agree or disagree. I think
it's
really
very
shines
close.
on both.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Do we have anything else really to say about this track before we move on?
No, just a great ballad.
Yeah, a great ballad. All right, well, next up on the list, we have...
All right, I'm done talking about this great song.
Yeah, I mean, it is great. Next up on the list, we're in the top 3. We've got I Just Wanna next on the list. So, I mean, I like Summertime Blues as much as the Nets guy. So, I know there's been some flack of this song for ripping off Summertime Blues during the verses, which... I hear a little bit. I think the songs are different enough where I wouldn't consider it to be plagiarism. But I think it's a really catchy, fun song. I think the chorus is pretty clever. It might have been too clever for radio, but I think it's a really fun live song. I think it's a really fun album cut.
Oh, that's the trick is, I hate to say this, but it's not too clever for radio. And if it didn't take, it was probably just because it was ahead of its time.
So Kiss were ahead of their time?
Maybe this sort of thing got really big in the late 90s with, that song, I'm a Dick, I'm Addicted to You, and that other one, You Make Me Come, You Make Me Complete, You Make Me Completely Miserable. Like, this was a pretty common trope in
So there you have it,
late
guys. Kiss has
alt-rock.
basically influenced like 19 genres that came after them.
Right? And I don't want to give them the credit for it, but they might have.
So really, going through the catalog has just made you begrudgingly realize, like, oh shit.
All the music that I love grew up listening to Kiss.
I was actually just listening to the podcast I did with the Decibel Geek guys, and they were talking about how the guys in Pearl Jam were all into Kiss, the guys in the Pumpkins were all into Kiss. Like, all those 90s grunge bands that I'm not into, they still liked Kiss. So, for better or for worse, Kiss is a huge influence on all kinds of different music. I mean, shoot, Tom Morello loves Kiss.
Tom Morello did their induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, yeah.
Yeah, very enthusiastically.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job.
But, this track, super catchy, super fun, and I really enjoy the breakdown after the solo. It's very Elder-esque, which I did.
I hate you so much, Greg.
This is their third album produced with Bob Ezrin, so this is really the Elder 2, Revenge.
Revenge of the Elder.
Revenge of the Elder. This time the Elder are old and hidden on teenage girls.
Are we does that mean at the end of this ranking we're doing the plot of Revenge of the Elder?
You know what? I'm going to say no, because this isn't an official concept album. I was just being largely facetious and wanting to troll Kiss fans that the same guy who produced The Elder also produced Revenge. So, there you go. Take It Off and The Wall, dude. Like, the same producer.
On that note of Bob Ezrin, I was thinking about it. He did Destroyer and music from The Elder, and then Revenge. And I was thinking about how I had read many years ago that Kiss had considered calling this album Destroyer 2. And even then, as kind of like a young kid or whatever, I was like, I don't know. You don't need to just like call everything Destroyer 2. Like, I don't know. I've heard a lot of like references that like Kiss would always claim that their coming album was like, yeah, it's kind of like Destroyer. And I don't know how much of that is actually true and how much of that is just like bitter Kiss message board fans. I would have to do some more fact checking, but I really think it is true that they had considered calling this one Destroyer 2. And for many years, I was always like, no, I don't get it. Don't need to do that. And honestly, in anticipation of this podcast, I get it now. I mean, Bob Ezrin's back, but it also just like the diversity. I mean, Destroyer was definitely the most diverse album at that point in their career. And I feel like you really do get a mix on Revenge as well. I mean, there's like evil Mad Gene, there's Sex Gene, there's Sex Paul, there's Ballad Paul.
There's Angry Paul.
There's Angry Paul. There's, God Gave Rock and Roll to You, which is kind of like...
God Gave Rock and Roll to Paul.
God Gave Rock and Roll to Paul. Yeah, it's anthemic. It's a cover. I mean, so there is a lot going on. So I actually like Revenge just fine as a title. But finally, I get how it could have been Destroyer 2.
Yeah, they also considered calling it Kiss, so self-titled. But
self-titled, yeah.
They didn't want to confuse it with the first album.
And it has a track written by the drummer.
Yep.
So I think it was ultimately, I think Revenge was a good title because it also felt very appropriate. Like after Eric's death, here was this like aggressive, kind of angrier album. Like, Gene, like, wanting revenge, revenge against what? The universe and God. Here's my songs about my dick. However you get revenge, Gene, you do you. But
it was also 3 years in between albums for them, which at that point was the longest in their career. So in some ways, it was almost like, hey, we've had our longest break between albums. We're back. This is our revenge.
Yeah, so I think it's a great album title. I think the cover is good. It's just it needs to be brighter so you can actually like read it. But,
yeah, I dig the whole like metal concept and like the blood or whatever. Yeah, I used to think it was blood. I don't know, but yeah, just kind of that look.
So do we not have anything to say about the song?
No, I was
itself?
just gonna say. Actually, I was gonna jump in.
What song
I
are we
know
talking about? I forgot.
I've been
We're talking about
unintentionally
I Just
neglecting.
Wanna, which-
I just love talking about all things music and Kiss. But no, I just wanna. I want to say it's like a sexy song, and I always kind of feel strange calling a song sung by a guy sexy. Like, oh, what are you into that guy or something? I just mean like no, like it's got that vibe. I don't know. I just dig the vibe of it. I dig the groove of it. I think that's why I ranked it number 2. Yeah, I just really like everything about it. Yeah, I guess I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I just straight up really enjoy the song. I dig its energy. I dig the cleverness of it. I didn't realize until a few minutes ago that it influenced like a whole generation of music. So that's cool. Thanks for letting me know that, Steve.
Yeah, I think this song is, when people talk about how great Revenge is, I think this is one of the songs they're thinking of. And I get it. When you're thinking of stuff like this, and, the stuff in the upper half of our ranking, and you're like, yeah, Revenge is a great album. I won't deny it. Like, this is top tier Kiss. This is them at their, catchiest. This is them at their most aggressive. This is them at their sexiest. Like, this is them firing on all cylinders, but with clever lyrics, interesting arrangement choices. So I can understand listening to this song and thinking this is one of Kiss's best albums. This is one of the ones where the argument in favor of Revenge makes more sense for me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And then just a quick going back to you were talking about how a lot of the lovers of Revenge don't like Every Time I Look at You. And I think for them, they're digging the rockers and the evil Gene attitude and the sexuality and whatnot of Gene and Paul in the certain songs. And maybe they're just kind of like, I don't need no ballad on this album. I just wanted to rock out. Like, I don't know. I think that might be where they're coming from, but
yeah, I
love it.
I'm reading the lyrics. I'm still trying to figure out what the intended message of this song is, because it seems like
it's called Hate Sex.
He's veering wildly back and forth between girl, I'm super horny, and also I'm so done with you though.
It's called Hate Sex.
See, I didn't. Yeah, I don't. Interesting that you think it's about hate sex, Greg, because I always thought of it as just continuing with the album's 4th of July theme. You have the
I
Star
mean, he does
Spangled.
compare his dick to a Roman candle.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have the Star Spangled Banner on Spit, and then I Just Wanna, he's lighting Roman candles. It's just a very patriotic album. So yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
And they did do the Star Spangled Banner on Alive 3. So really, Kiss is when Kiss is starting to enter into their jingoism phase.
They're angry at God, but they love America.
I mean, yeah. You know what? So I'm not gonna touch that. I'm just gonna move on to the next track unless anyone has more comments. But I Just Wanna.
I'm impressed that he has multiple references to his penis exploding. Between the Roman candle and the dynamite. It's kind of impressive.
I just want to give some love to that vocal breakdown part. Sorry, I'm not a musician, guys, so I can't explain it as well as maybe you guys could.
Oh, you mean the part that sounds like the Elder? Yeah, that part's great.
I guess. Do you really hear the Elder in that? I don't know. See, then again, you are a musician, so you might hear things I don't. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's really cool. I dig the way they layered that and put that together and everything.
Yeah, I dig the Elder too, man. All right, so next up on the list, we're at the number 2 song on the album. We've got Unholy next on the list.
I have been waiting for this one.
Yeah, well, Mike, you ranked it pretty low, so you, I guess, just don't like Kiss. So.
Oh. No, I have science on my side.
Oh, science.
I've been waiting. And I'm so excited because this has helped my decades-long Kiss journey. It's filled in a piece for me, if you could say.
All right, so why are you wrong about Unholy?
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you why I'm mathematically correct about Unholy. So, yeah, I referenced way earlier in the podcast how I was sitting next to my cousin at a music store, and he was listening to Revenge, and he's like, yeah, it's so evil. Like, wow, yeah, this is great. And then, yeah, Kiss, for years, I've heard Kiss fans say, Kiss was finally back on Revenge. Yeah, Gene was pissed off, and he was mad. It was the return of the demon. It's real Gene. It's real Kiss again. And I like Revenge in a lot of ways, but I rank it way lower than most Kiss fans, and I've always been like, what am I missing? What's wrong with me? Like, it's great production, but it's not one of my top albums. Like, Unholy is cool, but I just don't connect with that like evil thing as much. Like, it's not even like I'm offended by it. It's cool. I like the song musically, and like the lyrics are like a nice little like, ooh, it's so wicked, like change of pace or whatever. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not feeling it as a return to form. And that's because mathematically, it is very much not a return to form. It is a departure from form. And I do have some quick statistics to back this up. Again, this all just came about because of this podcast. So thank you so much for that opportunity. I went back and reviewed the classic first 6 Kiss studio albums, which most fans and probably just even music people in general would agree is the bulk of what made them famous. It's, it's the Bible of Kiss, if you will, or, whatever you want to call it.
The Kiss Torah, as I've heard mentioned in other podcasts.
Okay, yeah, Judaism. I have not heard that, but sure. That makes sense. So I went through and counted, and now I can see, someone might nitpick 1 or 2 points, depending on certain things. I counted all the Gene lead vocal songs. I didn't include like co-vocal songs like Shout It Out Loud, but I did include Nothing to Lose, even though it kind of also features Peter, but I think it's primarily Gene. I included a song like She, even though I guess it's Gene and Paul singing, but I think of it as more of a Gene song. But even if someone wants to nitpick a couple of these things, the math is still very much on my side. So out of 23 Gene lead vocals from the first 6 Kiss albums, 11 out of those 23 songs are straight up not, you can't even dispute it, there's sex songs. So 11 out of the 23 are clearly sex songs. I have 10 that I called vague, and like, or just kind of in between, like Rock and Roll Night. It's just an anthem. It's not a sex song. He talks about, you show us everything you got. It's quite a lot. You could say like, oh, that's kind of sexual, but I don't consider it a sex song. And then out of what I call evil Gene songs, I have 2. I have God of Thunder and Almost Human. And honestly, Almost Human is really just a sex song. It just kind of sounds like an evil Gene song. Like, yeah, I'm almost human. Like, you could maybe make an argument that Parasite, just because it sounds parasitic, Parasite is evil. But it's really just a song that Ace wrote and Gene sang about, like trying to shake this woman off and, have her stop coming around. And then you can maybe make an argument for Watching You. That's one of the songs that I put in the 10, like, kind of ambiguous column. It's not a sex song. I don't really think it's an evil song. It's kind of unclear what it's really about. So again, if you want to put that in the evil Gene column, fine. Then we're up to what, like 3 songs? And then She is really a sex song. It's about this woman. She takes off her clothes, but it just kind of sounds menacing, and it kind of sounds like an evil Gene song. So if you really want, at best, I can give you like 5 evil Gene songs, and that's still way lower. So I'm not mad about any of this, or the fact that someone might love evil Gene or Mad at Religion Gene or whatever. If you like that Gene better, that's fine. But I do not think, based on classic Kiss, that it is a return to form in any way. Again, like I said earlier, I think it is a departure from form. And realizing this blew my mind.
So let me counter
Listen
that.
to those lyrics, man. It's all about love and
Chosen. It's really hoping for the nerds drop, but it didn't.
So let me counter that. You said there were 5 arguable Gene Demon songs.
Well, yeah, I mean, even God of Thunder is kind of has sexual qualities to it.
Oh, so yeah, but let's say for the sake of argument, you said there are 5 songs you could argue as Demon Gene.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
that's like 1 per album. Return to form. First 6 albums, 1 per album.
But
checkmate, sir. Checkmate.
But out of 11,
wrong.
Out of 11 clear sex songs, I'm just saying there's still there.
But Gene also sings those sex songs on the album. So really, this is the return for form by having the one Demon song. Checkmate with your own argument, sir.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the wrong point, but the attempt at a right point. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah. No, I mean you do make a valid point.
And also,
I guess
the
do you,
thing
do you at least understand where I'm coming from? Where at
Yeah.
least, and you know what? For me too, I'm a guy who became a Kiss fan in the '90s. They were on the reunion tour. Like I had a different perspective of Kiss simply because of when I was born in life. So like people growing up in the '70s, they visually saw Gene. He was evil. They were scared of him. They were kids. They were like, oh, I love this man, but I'm also kind of scared of that guy. I didn't really have that. I heard the music of Kiss first. I fell in love with the music first. I thought the image was really cool, but I was not one of those kids who grew up in the '70s where I actually kind of, hid my head under the covers at night, kind of afraid of that Gene Simmons guy in that band I loved. So I get why Evil or Mean Gene or whatever is more important to those guys. But just for me, Unholy, and again, this is not a shitting on the song Unholy. Unholy was just a great time for me to bring up this thought I had or whatever.
I mean, it's the most Evil Gene song on this album.
Yeah, I mean, it is the most Evil Gene song. I guess just, and again, and another thing, when I was talking about I can relate to a song, like Take It Off, like I've had that experience of, having horny desires or whatever. Or going
So you're
out
saying
with
you never summoned a demon, bro?
You're saying, you're not literally Satan?
Like, I'm not an incubus laying eggs in people,
Dude,
like
I'm sorry you're such a pussy.
Nobody's,
Damn.
nobody's an incubus laying eggs in people. That's not how incubi work. Get your demonology right, Gene.
So, yes, exactly. I'm glad that we just boiled this down. The fact that I just can't enjoy revenge or music or life is just because I'm a pussy. So that's...
So the thing, before I get into the actual song, just responding to the general idea of Gene as the demon, I think with Kiss in general, there has been the perception of what Kiss fans want Kiss to be, what they idolize them as, and what they actually are. So when people think of Gene Simmons, people regularly associate God of Thunder as being the Gene theme song, even though Paul wrote it. It's often, Gene is called the God of Thunder, and that's associated with Gene. And that's like the theme song for the demon. And so even though there are less songs about being demonic in the catalog, that is still the perception the fans have, and those songs are still rising above the crop and are still, adored by fans, even though that's not what Kiss is. We want to think about Kiss as being rock and roll superheroes, but for the most part, they're just a really catchy cock rock band. And they don't really go beyond that lyrically too often. So I think that's why there might be such appreciation for Unholy, because it sounds like the evil Gene that everyone imagined in their heads for years, and then it finally actually was real.
Yes, and you said it better than I did. That's kind of a point I was getting at. It's more a fulfillment of people's fantasies than actually being something he was doing a whole bunch of back in the day. So exactly. It's more about, oh yeah, this is how I always pictured him.
But, the song itself, it's a phenomenal riff, which I'm almost 100% positive is Vinnie Vincent. Like, that just reeks of, awkward Vinnie Vincent riffing. Shout out to Vinny for returning to this album, helping write some of the best songs on the album. And
then immediately getting fired, right?
Well, he was brought in only as a songwriter, not as a band member. So they brought him in to write songs, and then after he wrote the songs, he sued them, and they're like, okay, we're not writing songs with Vinny ever again. So it'd be like if we brought Adam in just to write songs, but not to play guitar for us. But
and that we would also probably get sued over it?
Yes. Yeah, no, like the exact situation. But I think it's the lyrics are cool. Gene has a great vocal. The video is one of the coolest Kiss videos because they look dark and creepy, and it is so 90s where it's kind of hilarious how 90s it is. Where it's like, ooh, look, we're dark and edgy, and it's the 90s. Aren't we cool? But I think it's great. It's well produced. Like the gang vocals on the chorus are phenomenal. It's just, this is once again one of the songs from Revenge where if someone says I love this album, I think it's brilliant, it's one of Kiss's best, and they point towards Unholy, I can't knock it. It's a song that works well outside of makeup. It's a song that worked well on the Rock the Nation tour as the Gene Spit and Blood song. It's It's a sincerely cool track, and I think the combination of Gene genuinely feeling angst, finally having a chance to be a bit more aggressive because he was doing the pop stuff on those last few albums where he wasn't as comfortable. So Gene is being able to embrace like music he wants to, because Gene likes the heavy stuff. He likes getting heavy. And I think this is the kind of stuff that Gene wanted to do and was finally at a place where he was comfortable doing it on a Kiss album. So, Steve, what did you think of Unholy? You ranked it pretty high.
Yeah, I ranked this one actually at the top. Again, I like Gene with some depth to him, and I think this song actually does a fairly good job. All right, I'm going to tab away from the video because it's distracting. This song does a fairly good job of sort of like seeming like it's not about much, but you sort of dig into it in the context of, Gene is angry at God and trying to sort through that, and you get all of this back and forth of him like literally claiming to be various demonic entities and then just throwing in the occasional line about you created me, and you're like, is he talking about God? He's angry at God for creating this pain, or is he talking about people that he's mocking them and saying that the vast majority of human suffering isn't caused by some evil interloper, but is in fact caused by our own inhumanity to each other, kind of thing. There's I don't know how much of that depth he actually intended, but it kind of sounds like it.
Yeah, I would say I think the depth is actually there. I'm actually going to give Gene credit, because when Gene tries, Gene is very good.
Also, production-wise, this one sounds very Alice Cooper-esque. Like the gang chorus of Unholy. That is, I could picture that being an Alice Cooper song in the 90s as well.
So, praise from Steve for Gene Simmons once again.
Yeah, that's the trick. I guess it's weird, but Gene Simmons just needs to actually write well.
I mean, also,
and it works.
Angsty 90s works pretty well for you. Like, Gene's like, it's the 90s, I need to be angsty.
That's true. I mean, yeah, the angsty 90s thing, there was an attempt at depth that I think I value.
Man, I'm really not trying to do any spoilers, but I'm super curious about Carnival of Souls, that's for sure.
Got it sitting on my desk right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a top 5 Kiss album for me. I like it way better than Revenge. Hashtag hot take Troyan. Go ahead and at me, nerds. Bring it on.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I've been more critical of Revenge than any of the other albums I've done these podcasts for. But Kiss fans, hear me now. We're not all insane on this podcast. Greg is very wrong. Revenge is a better album than Carnival of Souls. I don't know why he's doing drugs. Don't do drugs, kids.
Hey man, I'm straight edge, but also Unholy is another one of
He produces
the...
many a wine out of nowhere spell, and is drunk every day before noon.
But, back to Unholy, this song really is a bridge to Carnival of Souls.
Sure.
If you like this direction of Kiss, if you like this and Thou Shalt Not, Carnival of Souls is like, hey, guess what? We're taking that to a further extreme. And so for the fans who resonated with that, Carnival of Souls was like, yeah, this is great. But if you're like, oh man, I really like Take It Off more, then yeah, Carnival of Souls isn't going to be your bag. But,
well, I actually heard a rumor that when they were gonna finally release Carnival of Souls, they were like, but we want something that could be a single from this. We need a ballad for this album. And they were like, well, what if we just re-recorded Unholy as the ballad for this album?
What?
I'm kidding. I'm just saying Unholy would be a ballad on Carnival of Souls.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Oh, relatively speaking,
not quite. I'm being stupid.
Right. Yeah, compared to how heavy that the rest of the album is, Unholy is the ballad. Unholy is the lighthearted pop song of that album. But yeah, I think this is a great tune, great playing, great vocals, just all around knockout and home run. Steve and I ranked it high, so Mike, look, we just like Kiss more than you. It's fine, dude. It's you can handle that.
Okay.
Do we have any other comments on Unholy before we move on?
I just wanted to agree with you guys. The gang vocals on Unholy, just the actual word Unholy, are pretty sick. It sounds awesome. Bob did a great job and everything.
Good job, Bob.
Yep. All right, well, we're at the number one song, so let's go through the ranking from the bottom to the top. From least best to best, Car Jam 1981, Tough Love, Paralyzed, Spit, Thou Shalt Not, Domino, Heart of Chrome, Take It Off, Every Time I Look at You, I Just Wanna, Unholy. But the best song on Revenge, according to this panel of experts and myself, God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too.
I really like that they're being so supportive of everybody's favorite Irish rock band. Just really calling them out and being like, yes, God gave rock and roll to these guys as well. You too gets to have rock and roll.
I really wish Kiss liked the greatest Irish rock band of all time more, Thin Lizzy, rather than those U2 hacks.
I don't know, that lyric can Take It Off about like the noise the boys are making. That might be a Thin Lizzy reference.
There you go. So they're just not into all the Irish bands on this album,
right? The concept of Revenge of the Elder is that it's just all about Irish music.
You know, I like the amount of diversity on this album. It's kind of like the White Album in terms of diversity.
All right, so that's all three of them, right?
Yeah,
we got them all.
Yeah, we got them all in.
Hooray!
Is that our reward button?
No, it's the sting button. I've got various loud noises mapped to it. It's a lot less positive, I think.
So,
congratulations.
So, God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too. This is an all-time classic of the band's catalog. One of the best things Kiss has ever done. It was originally on the Bill and Ted 2 soundtrack for Bogus Journey. And it was sort of their...
Excellent film, by the way.
Great film. Phenomenal film. Both films are great. But it was them testing the waters with Bob Ezrin to make sure that when they worked with him, they weren't going to do The Elder 2. That was basically why they decided to do the track. They're like, you know what? Let's test this out to make sure that Bob still isn't insane and that we can actually make something that'll make money. And so, because the record company asked them to cover the old Argent song, God Gave Rock and Roll to You, but Kiss said, we can't sing these lyrics because it's all about, like, flowers and trees and hippie shit, and it would just sound really awkward coming from us. So they rewrote the lyrics to be about, capitalism and working hard. Something much more in line with the Kiss mentality, but I think the lyrics they came up with during the verses were great. I think the back and forth vocals between Gene and Paul are phenomenal. Great sing-along production on the chorus. Excellent playing from the band. One of the best Bruce Kulick solos in the catalog. Great video. The video was the last to feature Eric Carr in the music video. So it was recorded before he died. Eric Singer, the drummer on the album, played drums on the song, but Eric Carr appeared in the video because it was before his death, and they were just trying to use a studio guy while he was hopefully recovering.
And Eric Carr's vocals are on the song, too.
I was just about to get to that.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. We're on the same page, but the
Too many Erics.
The beautiful highlight of the song is Eric Carr's beautiful vocals after the solo, where it sounds Beatles-esque. And the first time I heard the song was on the very best of... Well, the first time I heard the song, I heard it live. But then I, listened to it on the very best of Kiss. And I recognized the vocals of the other guys in the band by that point, where, like, I knew Peter, I knew Ace, I knew Gene and Paul. But I heard this other voice in God Gave Rock and Roll to You, and I'm like, who is this other singer? Because they sound like the Beatles right now. Like, is it Gene? Is it Paul? I can't recognize who this other voice is. But it's, when I first heard it, it gave me chills, in which I just thought, this is really awesome. This is just a magical moment in music. Much in the same way where I first heard the Thin Lizzy song Dedication, which was, recorded before Phil's death and became his final song. And so I felt the magic from it, even not knowing the story behind it. And so knowing that Eric Carr went into the studio and recorded that bridge when he was, suffering from cancer, near death, but still laid down that beautiful vocal, it makes it even better. And it was already a great part. This is a triumph of the band's catalog. This is one of the best things they've ever done. It's an all-time classic. I wish they played it more live. They don't play it live super often, but I feel very blessed that the show I went to, they closed with it live, and this just felt like this is how you close out a Kiss concert. Like, Rock and Roll All Night is the big party anthem, but this is the big anthem where like you reflect on the experience. So I think this is a fantastic cut in the band's catalog. You know, the fact that it has Gene, Paul, Bruce, and both Erics on it, I think just makes it just a really magical piece where you got, you know, Kiss as a 5-piece band on this track. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, you said a lot there that I wanted to address in one way or another. No, I mean that in a good way. Like so many things, I'm like, oh, I agree with that, or oh, I have something to add to that. Not in any specific order. You mentioned that you were blessed to have seen it live, and they closed with it, and how you loved that experience. For me, the only time I saw them do it live is actually one of my favorite Kiss concert memories, for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, it was just great to get that song. Don't get me wrong. Also, I was with a great group of friends, and it was really cool the way they did it at the show. This was in 2010, so they did "God Gave Rock and Roll to You," and then Paul's doing his banter, and he said something along the lines of like, "Yeah, you know, God gave rock and roll to us, and I'm on the phone with God right now, and He says to rock and roll all night, party every day." And then they did, went into that one, and I don't know, something about that was just my friends and I were like cracking up. We were like, "Oh, that's a funny little segue to do that," and it was just a great moment. So it was a great back-to-back, 2-song ending, and yeah, it's just a great memory. Great song. We talked about how it being an Argent cover, rewritten, with rewritten lyrics. When I had showed one of my friends the Argent version, and then his response was, "Oh wow, Kiss is really anti-snail." Because in the original version, there's a line, "Don't step on snails," and so it was just funny that my friend's joking takeaway that Kiss is an anti-snail band is just a funny memory for me. A nitpicky thing for me, and it's stupid. It's just, again, it's totally frivolous and nitpicky. For some reason, it irks me that they decided to make it "God Gave Rock and Roll to You" 2, because they're like, yeah, well, we really kind of like changed a lot of it, so we have to call it 2. Because I still think, I mean, I guess the lyrics are pretty different, but I still get more similarities to that and the original version than I do with like "Kissin' Time." I think they really changed the song "Kissin' Time," and it was, of course, a totally different time in their career and everything. Like 20 years almost had gone by, but I'm always like, well, why wasn't it "Kissin' Time" too? I don't know. It sounds different to me. The lyrics are rewritten
because they were seasoned vets at that point. They realized if you claim songwriting credit, you get more money.
You know what? And yeah. Thank you for that excellent point. So yes, I mean, it's probably what it was. Yeah, so again, stupid nitpicking thing. It in no way legitimately diminishes my enjoyment of anything. It was just always like kind of weird. Yeah, it is a great song. I love that, we get that Eric Carr vocal. Thank you for mentioning that. I am a little surprised I did not see it coming in at number 1. I know I had it a little bit more in the middle. Great song, though, of course. Really cool thing about Revenge, and I had mentioned earlier on Spit, I'm like, it's cool you get Gene and Paul singing together again. You get it like on 2 songs in a row on Revenge. So Spit and "God Gave Rock and Roll to You" too. So that's just really cool how they were like, let's be bros. They were like me and Steve before me and Steve.
Right. The precursor to you and Steve.
Yeah, Steve. So not only did Kiss influence like every band you love, they influenced our friendship.
I mean,
well, I guess they really kind of did.
It was sort of a given, considering that we started hanging out on a podcast about Kiss.
Yeah.
So, Steve, you had some interesting observations about this song.
This one was a little bit surreal to sit down and... Because I have not listened to this song specifically since the first time I saw Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Because the second time I saw it, it was muted. That's how I know it's such a great film, is because, well, I was able to watch the film for the second time 15 years after previously having seen it and still know beat by beat all the plot points. Because it's just that memorable. Anyway, actively listening to the song was slightly surreal just because, 70% of the vocals on it have been cribbed directly in Lipstick or Night Sabers or Manpower songs. So it's like, oh, I recognize this lyric. That's the thing that Greg says it shows. But like, oh, I recognize a lyric. That's the thing that our friend Chris used as a lyric. Oh, that's where they got it from.
Yeah, and in fairness to me cribbing from this song, I reference it directly in the Lipstick song Rock and Roll Forever, where I say, like Paul said. So at least I'm acknowledging where it came from. And the end of Rock and Roll Forever is just sort of, almost a Paul Stanley stage rap, where I'm just talking about how great rock music is and how inspiring and rad and cool it is. And, there's the line in the song where Paul says, we have been given a gift, we have been given the road, and that road's called rock and roll. So in the Rock and Roll Forever rap section, as I'll call it, the stage rap, I say, like Paul said, we have been given a gift, we have been given a road, and that road's called rock and roll. Because it's a nod to my influences and a nod to, like, the feel of the song. Rock and Roll Forever is a song we wrote, which is a very, inspirational song about how rock music can make you feel good. And that's what this song is. So it felt like it felt like a tip of the hat rather than stealing.
See, I feel like this was a really missed opportunity for you, because you could have paid homage to two of your all-time favorite musical legends, Kiss and Jim Steinman. You could have called the song Rock and Roll Forever, parentheses, God Gave Rock and Roll to You 3.
No, God Gave Rock and Roll to You 3 is already taken by a band named Unrest.
Okay, God Gave Rock and Roll to You 3.5.
They put it out in 1992 as well, but I can't find any...
Is there any relation or to either of the songs or anything? Or
I mean, just the Wikipedia page for God Gave Rock and Roll to You lists it.
I didn't know if it was like a cover of Argent or
I think it is a cover of the Argent version, but slightly modified even more than the Kiss version. I couldn't find lyrics for it, though. But yeah, Petra also did it twice, as well as every other Christian band that wanted to be Petra.
I was going to say, for many years, I thought it was the Kiss version. I thought it was a Petra cover because I had found somewhere online, like when the internet was much more primitive. Like now you have like Wikipedias and everything's very organized. Like you can look up every album in a band's discography and what year it came out. Back in like the 90s internet, you had like a lot of fan sites. And so you were working with just a lot of crazy loose information. And I just remember finding like, oh, it's a Kiss cover of this Petra song. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Oh, this is a Christian band. Oh, wild. That Kiss was like, let's cover this Christian band. And it was just, I was just like, oh, wow, crazy idea. And then, I ended up finding out that that wasn't even accurate. Well, I mean, they did do it first, but you know what I mean.
So Steve, aside from the awkwardness of realizing how big of an influence Kiss is on myself and Chris, how did you feel about the song in general?
I mean, it was one of those ones I didn't want to rank it all that high just because it's one of those ones that you've heard a bajillion times and everybody knows it and it's a bit of a cliche, but I mean, it's a pretty good anthem, so I ranked it second.
Yeah, I think that's the trick is like there comes a certain point you don't want to rank a song high because it's popular, but I mean, if it's that good, can you really justify like ranking, freaking Tough Love above God Gave Rock and Roll to You too? I know there's probably some Kiss fans like, this song's bullshit. I like the aggressive stuff, but you know what? Do you really want to be friends with those people?
I actually have read quite a bit of that, like on Kiss message boards and stuff, where they're just like, terrible song on a great album. And I'm just like, great song on an album that you overrate. Although I do like Revenge. This is not a Mike Walsh Hates Revenge podcast. Just Mike Walsh has mathematical data explaining his less love of Revenge.
Nerd!
There we go. That one worked.
Yeah.
But,
wait, this website is saying that Argent remade the song in 1992, also calling it God Gave Rock and Roll to You 3.
What? I've never heard that before. I mean, even heard of that before. Wow.
That's pretty great. So, as we're wrapping our thoughts around this, so Steve, you're with two guys who thought this album was pretty meh overall. Thought there were some really good high points, but overall is a bit of an overrated album in the catalog. Do you side with us, or do you side with the Kiss fans who think it's one of their best?
Overall, I would say it's a fairly middling album. I suspect I could picture this one being somewhat prone to the same thing that happened with Rocky V, where like, or sorry, not Rocky 5, but Rocky Balboa, where I thought Rocky Balboa, watching all those films, all one after the other, was not particularly good, but all the people who had been waiting 16 years to see a follow-up to Rocky 5 were super excited for it. So I could see if, like, what was it, 3-4 years between Kiss albums at this point?
Right, and also you had the death of a member, so they were wondering, like, is it even going to be good? What's the vibe going to be like?
Right, so I think a lot of you know, really dedicated fans were just happy to have any Kiss album at this point, and it didn't matter so much what it was, just something new was gonna make them happy, and you know, make it be one of the best albums. And then it was another 5 years for the next one. Yeah, so I think at this point in Kiss's career, the hardcore fans were just sort of jonesing for any more Kiss.
Yeah, I definitely see that. But overall, I think it's a good half the album is great, and a good half the album is like meh. And Mike, I'm guessing you kind of have the same thoughts as me.
Yeah, I mean, and I hate to admit this, but in some ways I've almost pushed back a little bit, where everyone's like, Revenge is the greatest Kiss album of all time. Like, I'm so glad they finally made a good album. I love it. It changed my life. And I'm all like, no. I feel like over the years I've almost been like docking it a point or two, just out of like stubborn, like, why don't I agree with the majority of the Kiss fan base? Like, they're wrong. I'm gonna take it down another peg or two I'll spite you. That makes no sense. So yeah, I mean, it's solidly enjoyable. I can't see it ever really. I feel like it's always going to be into my bottom half. I don't see me ever having a day where I have like a drastic epiphany where I'm like, oh, it's now one of my top 3 albums. That might be interesting if my whole Kiss love could change that much. But yeah, really cool album that I just don't enjoy as much as a lot of my Kiss brothers and maybe like 2 Kiss sisters.
As both
There's got to be
Kiss
some
sisters.
female Kiss fans out there. I don't know.
Your Kisssters, as it were.
My Kisssters, yes.
So, Mike, what do you feel like plugging this week?
Oh, yes, this week. So one of my all-time favorite bands is a band out of England going back to the 60s called Status Quo. And they're a very big band in England and Europe and other countries throughout the world for decades and decades. They're virtually unknown in the United States. In fact, off the top of my head, they have to be one of the biggest bands ever, like in contemporary music, worldwide, that really isn't known in the United States. The lead singer and lead guitarist and kind of the main guy throughout the whole course of their history, Francis Rossi. In March, he has a new book coming out, his first autobiography, I Talk Too Much, and also kind of like a companion album that he did with a woman named Hannah Rickard. She might be absolutely famous in England, or she might be a nobody. I admit that I'm not sure. But they did an album together that's also coming out in March called We Talk Too Much. So yeah, check these things out. This guy is considered a legend in other parts of the world, and yet is, unknown in the United States. So yeah, Francis Rossi has a book, a new album coming out. The main man of the band, Status Quo.
And Steve, where can people find us on the internet?
lipstickgeneration.com and Lipstick Generation on whatever platforms we may be on.
All right. Well, that's our episode. Bye, internet.
Bye.
Bye.
Rock and roll forever. Let's defend her together. She will never die. Rock and roll forever. something fun. Anthems of freedom for the young, and it still gives us peace inside. Rock and roll forever. Let's defend her together. She will never die. Rock and roll forever. Let's defend her together. She will never die. It has many different sounds. Megadeth, Peach and Drown. So many different styles can never grow old. Rush, Manowar, and Green are all just the same to me. It's what makes you feel good inside your soul. Rock and roll forever. Let's defend her together. She will never die. Rock and roll forever. Let's defend her together. She will never die. Overtime, yeah! That is rock and roll. That is rock and roll. Freedom! That is rock and roll. That is rock and roll. That is rock and roll. Freedom! That is rock and roll. It's whatever you want it to be, yeah. Rock and roll forever. Let's defend her together. She will never die. Rock and roll forever. Let's defend